with Dr. Benita Zahn.
With all the attention and money lavished on development of a vaccine for coronavirus, we can't lose sight of other diseases, especially the rare diseases, the ones that don't affect large numbers of people, but can be debilitating, even deadly. A number of years ago, I met Melissa Goetz, a young mom, fighting for a treatment of the disease her baby daughter had, familial chylomicronemia syndrome, FCS. Recently, her efforts got a boost through legislation introduced by Congressman Paul Tonko, referred to as the HEART Act. Melissa, now the president of the FCS Foundation, is my guest, along with her co-president, Lindsey Sutton. Hi, ladies. Thanks for you being with us to have this conversation. Melissa, when I met you, what we're figuring, is it 4 or 5 years ago now?
Yeah.
And your daughter was, development was very slow. Give us a thumbnail understanding of FCS.
Sure. So FCS, familial chylomicronemia syndrome, is the body's inability to metabolize fat. The body, fat builds up in the bloodstream or the triglycerides and results in really high triglycerides, typically over 500. Most of our patients' fasting triglycerides are anywhere from 1,000 to 2,500, and that results in pancreatitis.
And why does that become debilitating and interfere with development?
I'll let Lindsey talk a little bit about this because she has a little bit more experience, having lived with the disease a little bit longer.
Yes, thank you, Melissa. So I was born with FCS, diagnosed at a very young age, and pancreatitis is debilitating. So not only are the triglycerides extremely high and at a very dangerous level, but the inflammation of a pancreas leads to severe pain and hospitalization. So usually patients, even if they manage from home, for a few days, they usually end up in the hospital with about a week or two recovery post-hospital visit. And this can spiral into multiple attacks that can go on for years and years. So imagine, as a child, you miss school and sports because you're sick constantly. In your adulthood, you miss work or college, and it can just really affect your quality of life.
Is there any treatment for this, or have you just lived from episode to episode, Lindsey?
Live from episode to episode. The only treatment now would be a low-fat diet, about 20 grams of fat per day, although that's pretty high. I personally stick to about 10 grams of fat per day, and many patients do as well.
That's very limiting. How are you managing this for your daughter, Melissa?
Same way that Lindsey is and the rest of our community is, just a really low-fat diet. We stick to about 12 to 15 grams of fat a day. I like to say that, for reference, 1 egg has 5 grams of fat. A tablespoon of olive oil has about 12 grams of fat. I think people don't think twice about adding those things to their diet, but those are things that we don't have, in Juliana's diet at all.
So in your research in hoping to find a cure, what would be the cure or simply just a treatment so that life could go on more normally?
I'm going to go ahead and answer that, if that's okay. I think that a lot of people assume that our treatment would need to be, we can eat fat, something that helps us metabolize the fat. But I think most of our patient population just wants something to lower the triglycerides, prevent pancreatitis, and prevent daily pain. That is so debilitating every single day.
Is there something in development?
Yes, so there has been a drug in development. And right now it's not approved in the United States. The FDA put out a CRL, a complete response letter, saying that they're not approving it, but they're not approving it, and they want more information and more science on the drug. Whereas in the UK, it actually was approved. I can't think of, maybe a year ago, Melissa?
Yeah, it was last spring that the EU approved the same drug in Europe that was not approved here in the US.
So it's leaving you kind of in limbo. What about the HEART Act? What does this do? And right now it's a one-house bill. What does this mean? How does this help you go forward?
So after our experience with the drug that was in clinical trials and receiving that CRL, and then once it received the CRL, we were left pretty heartbroken and frustrated because we felt like we were so close to something that would be helpful for our community. So that's when I reached out to Representative Tonko initially, just to share our frustration with what happened with FCS. And the more we started talking with more rare disease groups and members of the Rare Disease Caucus, down on Capitol Hill, we came up with these 5 points that we think help not just FCS, but rare disease in general. Because as we talked with more rare disease groups, we realized that they were experiencing the same frustrations that we had been. But this wasn't unique to FCS. It was overarching rare disease experience in general. So we're looking at the FDA including members of its own rare disease program staff in reviews for drugs. So people who are really specialized in rare disease, including experts in rare disease on advisory committee panels. And that would include people who have experience in small sample studies. You know, a study on rare disease has maybe 60 participants, whereas you look at some other big diseases and you have potentially thousands of participants. We're looking for the FDA to prepare a report showing how many rare disease drug applications are reviewed by each division, which will help us see what divisions within the FDA maybe have more experience looking at rare disease drugs versus others. And then including members of the patient community when devising what's called a REMS, risk evaluation mitigation strategies. You know, we found that the FDA would consider some REMS too burdensome for patients, whereas patients are saying, no, we'll do this. You know, we'll go for more monitoring, we'll go for more physician appointments. You know, so having that input in the process. And then looking at the EU for their process for drug approval and potentially using that data when those drugs are approved in the US to help those drugs get approved here.
Ladies, I'm taking a look at the time and I see that I've got to do the wrap up. But before we do, I've already set up a link on our website. You just go to links so that if people want more information about FCS, is there something there also if you want to get involved in this effort? I've done stories on rare diseases before, and it's very difficult. You know, you're all sort of out on your own island, and sometimes you can see the promised land close, but you just can't get there unless you have other folks helping you out. So is there an opportunity through your FCS website to get involved in this larger issue as well?
Yes, if you go to our website, there's a tab called the Heart Act. It outlines what the Heart Act is about and ways that you can get involved and reach out to your congressperson for their support.
Ladies, I want to thank you both so very much. All the best. Keep us posted.
Thank you.
Good work too.
Thank
Take
you.
care. And Lindsey, feel well.
Thank you.
Thinking about you. Take care.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us. For more info on FCS, go to the link section right here on our website. We'll see you next time.